Hello, this is Ivan for watchandlearn.com, and in this video mini-series we are going to be talking about Vagrant and setting up our local development environment. So we are going to learn how to set up Vagrant, how to set up Scotch Box, which is a box for Vagrant that we are going to be using. Also, we are going to learn how to make Vagrant a little bit quicker. We are going to install Drupal on it and set up multiple sites on one box. You will see why that is actually important. And also we are going to learn how you can set up your vhosts so that you don't have to access Vagrant, actually your sites, via some IP, but you can just do something like myawesomesite.dev or something like that. In this first episode, we are going to set up Vagrant, set up Scotch Box, and install Drupal on it. Vagrant is an application that lets you create your development environments easily, as it says on their site. So you can create and configure lightweight, reproducible, and portable development environments. I wouldn't agree with this lightweight, as you will see in the next episode of this series, but it lets you create a development environment. Think about this for a second. If you're developing your websites on a Mac or on a Windows, you're not developing it in an environment that the site is actually going to live on. So your site, when you publish it, is probably going to go to some kind of a Linux server running Ubuntu or Debian or some other Linux distribution, and it's going to be set up as a server. So wouldn't it make sense that you develop your sites in that kind of environment? So Vagrant lets you do just that. We're not going to go into details in this series on how you can create your own box for your own development environment, but you can check out the Vagrant documentation and see what you can do right here. But since Vagrant is very popular, there are a lot of so-called Vagrant boxes, and one of the boxes we are going to be using is called Scotch Box. So we are going to use this box for our development environment. Okay, so let's get started. It's not very hard. So there are a few prerequisites that you have to fill to be able to use Vagrant. First of all, of course, you need Vagrant itself. So if we go down here, you have to download and install Vagrant. So you just go to their site. They have an installer for Mac, for Windows, for Debian, and for CentOS. So this one for Debian is actually also for Ubuntu if you're using a Linux distribution. So you have to install that. Also, you have to have Git installed on your system, but as I hope you are a developer, you should already have Git installed. If you don't, please install it on your system. If you're on Windows, you will be using Git shell to do all the things that we are going to do from this kind of Mac shell that you get with Mac OS and Linux. Also, one more thing you need to have installed is this VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is a program from Oracle for making virtual boxes, virtual environments. So you can use VirtualBox to install Windows and open it up inside a window in a Mac, or you can install Linux on it or something like that. So you have to have this software just installed. So you just go to their page, download installer and install it. You don't have to do anything with it, just install it. Okay. Also, if you already have VirtualBox installed for whatever reason, please update it if you're going to use Vagrant. When I installed my Vagrant, I had some troubles because VirtualBox was out of date. So just install VirtualBox. Okay, so now we can get started with actual installation of Scotch Box. So first you installed Vagrant, and now we will install a box for it called Scotch Box IO. To do that, we just follow instructions on this page. It's not very hard. So you just go copy this out. I'm going to go to my home directory, paste this in, and I'm going to call it my Drupal project. Okay, and then you press enter. So if this is the first time you're installing Vagrant and the Scotch Box, this may take some time. So just sit through it, have a cup of coffee and so on. But since I already have Scotch Box installed, this goes pretty quickly for me. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just run Vagrant up. So I'm just going to go to my Drupal project. Okay, and just run Vagrant up. And now we wait a little bit. Okay, so this actually took some time. In the first step I said that the first time if you do this it will take some time, but actually it was the second step. And it took some time for me too, because Scotch Box, whenever you start a new project, it downloads the whole box for you again. And we will fix that in one of the future episodes. So it has to download, I don't know, gig or something like that. So that takes some time, because it's actually downloading the whole operating system. So if we go to scotchbox.io, you see what you get with it. So you get Ubuntu 4.04, you get PHP, Ruby, Vim, Git, databases, MySQL, Postgres, caching stuff, you get Node, you get stuff for Laravel, you get this mail catcher, and other useful stuff. So you even get the WordPress command line interface and so on. Okay, so now that we have this up, and just one more thing. So whenever you start again, so let's say you restart your machine and you go to this folder and do Vagrant up, this will be much quicker. Then it won't download anything because your VirtualBox is already downloaded. So if we go down here to access our project, we just go to this address. So let's try it out. And as you can see, you get this message. So, and with some data. So what's your MySQL database credentials, what's your SSH credentials and so on. You can SSH to your VirtualBox by just doing Vagrant SSH. And now you're in your VirtualBox. So you can do ls. So this is Ubuntu 14.4. So you just SSH'd in it. You can see, I don't know, you can see all of those directories right here. Your site will actually be here in www and so on. So we just do exit from this, and if we check out what this folder, my Drupal projects, consists of, you can see you have some Git files, Vagrant file, and you have this public folder. So if we go to public, and you can see that you have this index.php in it. This is the index.php. So whenever you type this address right here, you go to that actually, is it HTML? Or you go to that index.php file. Okay, so let's install Drupal on Scotch Box right now. So I'm just going to go to drupal.org, and then Drupal 8 is available if you didn't watch my last series, and just download it. Okay, we will choose this star.gz file, and I'm actually going to download it not on my desktop but in my project, my Drupal project, and in a public directory. So I'm just going to download it right here. Save it. Okay. So once that is finished, I'll just ls this. Oh, the download is actually still ongoing. Oh, now it's finished. So if I do, okay, now we have Drupal 8.0.1. Okay, so I'm just going to unzip this. You can of course use, if you're on a Windows, you can use something like WinZip or Windows default program for unzipping, or if you're on a Mac you can unzip it with that. I'm just going to do it right here from the console. So we do tar Drupal, and we just unzip it right here. Okay, I'm going to go to my file manager and go to my Drupal project, go to public. As you can see, Drupal is currently in this directory, Drupal 8.0.1. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to select everything in it, go to the public directory, and just move it right here and replace index.php file. Okay, I can remove Drupal 8.0.1 directory right now, and we can also remove Drupal 8.0.1 tar.gz. Okay, now we have Drupal right here. And of course, if we go right here, so to this Scotch Box's address, refresh it, we should see Drupal installation. Okay, so now we have Drupal installation started, but before we can go through with it, we have to create a database. So to create a database, you could use a program like, if you're on a Mac, for like SQL Pro. So SQL Pro, you just download it, install it, and then you would fill it up with this kind of data. So Vagrant, MySQL, root password is root, username is root, SSH host is this, SSH user is Vagrant, and so on, and just connect to that database. And I can choose a database right here, or I can add it. So I can just do add database, and then I write the name of that database, and that's it. I have created my database for Vagrant. But if you're not on Mac, you could use a program like Navigate, or you can find some alternatives to this SQL Pro actually. I don't know of any good alternatives. All you have to look for is that it can connect to a database via SSH. But if you don't want to do all of that, if you don't want to have this program, it's actually a great application, so feel free to use it if you're on a Mac. But if you don't want to do that, or you're on Windows and don't have any program that will satisfy your needs, you can just go to my Drupal project, and we will do Vagrant SSH and SSH into our Vagrant box, and then we will create that database by hand. So this should also work for Windows and for Linux and for Mac. So to do that, we're going to write some commands. So just do MySQL and then you write -u and the name of the user. So for Vagrant, Scotch Box is going to be root, and we're going to let it prompt us for password. So you have to enter a password now. So the Scotch Box's password for MySQL is also root. And now we're in MySQL. So to create a database, you just do create database, and the name of that database for us is going to be Drupal. And that should be it, I think. So, okay, I forgot to add this semicolon at the end. So create database Drupal semicolon, and now we can do something like show database. Come on. No, it's not actually show data bases. Okay, so now we have this information schema, Drupal, MySQL, performance schema, and Scotch Box. So these are the default databases that you get, and we have this Drupal one right here. So if we connect with SQL Pro right here, actually I'm going to close it and connect again. And just connect it. Now we can choose this Drupal database right here. So these are the two ways that you can create your databases. Now that we created them, let's get on with the Drupal installation. Okay, so I'm just going to put this down, save and continue. We choose a standard installation. Then we ignore these warnings right here and continue anyway. And now it asks us for our database configuration. So the database name is Drupal, and the database username is root, and database password is also root, and we just do save and continue. Okay, so this took some time, at least for me. And I will show you how to fix that. So how to make your Vagrant box or Scotch box a little bit faster in the next episode. But for now, let's just finish up with this. So the site name is going to be Drupal, Drupal test site, let's say, and then we're going to have email address. So let's make it test.com. Username will be Ivan. Password. Okay, email address, default country for me it's Croatia, right here somewhere. Okay, check for the updates automatically and receive email notifications. No, save and continue. And this is your Drupal site right here. So you can access it via this IP and just go to a Drupal site. Also, if you go to public directory in my Drupal project, you can edit your files from here. So you don't have to SSH to Vagrant or something like that. You edit your files on your local machine, but the actual output or the actual our environment that is going to display your site is going to come from Vagrant. So you can just do something like Sublime dot and start up Sublime, and you will see all of your files right here, and you will be able to edit them and so on. Okay, so I think that's it for this episode. In the next episode we are going to show you how you can make this site a little bit quicker, actually this Vagrant box a little bit quicker. We are also going to show you how you can make multiple sites on one Vagrant box, and I will show you why you would want to do that. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please follow me on Facebook or on Twitter. Also like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content I put out. And I think that's it. I'll see you in the next one.